welcome back to the CGC channel. Another discussion piece. Happy New Year. Merry Christmas. I know it's a little bit past Christmas, but I feel it's necessary to wish everybody a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays, whatever you celebrate. I hope it was a wonderful time with family and friends. And hopefully this video will be out before the new year, so happy new year to anybody who sees it by then. I want to talk about the future. I want to try my best to keep it PG, but you know me, sometimes I get to yapping and a lot of curse words come out. And it's not because I'm angry, it's just because sometimes, I get a little frustrated with how people act about, something again that I always preach. This is supposed to be fun, right? But we're not going to talk about the fanboys or the grifters too much today. What I feel like talking about is solutions and proclamations. Things I think are coming, things I think will be, and things that I think that people in not just who not just participate in gaming and the gaming industry at large, but entertainment in general need to get used to. I recorded some footage, and I probably should have put this on my Xdefiant video. I had a wrestling game. I had a buddy of mine telling me you probably should have had the Xdefiant game playing in the background, but the game wasn't it wasn't serving its purpose for me, and I'm actually glad I got the footage I have because I got some of the newer content that should be playing in the background here. I cut it back on again, and I'm still terrible at it. But I had a revelation about this game. As many of you may or may not be aware, it's officially been canned, and it's going to be sunset in June of this year. I believe June 12th is the day. I might be confusing that with something else, but I believe June 12th is the day it's going to be sunset of 2025, and it will no longer receive updates, and the servers will be shut down. And while I do understand that the game isn't making enough money to validate keeping it open, I personally believe that shutting it all the way down is a complete and utter mistake. And this channel is very small, so I don't expect anybody from Ubisoft to see this. But I am going to put this out here. One, everything needs competition. This is why I may bag on Sony, or I may bag on Microsoft, or talk about how Microsoft stuff isn't of a certain quality as my alarm on my phone goes off. I may bag on a lot of these companies and what they do, but at the end of the day, I understand that if Microsoft goes away, like it looked like they were going to in 2017, then you only have Sony and Nintendo competing in the console space. And if you think the prices for something like the PS5 are egregious, and what I believe Nintendo might have to do with the Switch, given the whole situation with tariffs, which I could be completely off by. I know the tech inside the machine is going to be older, so that might reduce the cost. But the idea of what that thing could cost is still, it could possibly be very scary. I guess we'll find out in January, as Nintendo and Microsoft at the very least are said to be showing some stuff off next month, in a few days, basically. But can you imagine if Sony were the ones setting the price and the precedence for everything? I know there's people out there who are like, well, Sony makes great games. They make great single-player games. They're terrible at multiplayer games. And as much crap as people talk about Microsoft, Sony seems to be pretty terrible at managing companies too. Like, think about all the studios they've closed. They've only got one game out or no games out, and they closed them down. Look at all of the like we can sit here all day and talk shit about Microsoft and how they mismanage this. I know there's a big thing going on right now currently with an issue of Microsoft not paying the Halo dig site guys, so they just leaked like 92 gigs of Halo 1, 2, and 3 stuff. I think Reach 2. And finding out that Microsoft wasn't paying them is like, okay, yeah, I get it, they're modders, but if you want them doing that, man, you have to compensate people for their work. That's just pretty shitty of them to do that. And they need to rectify that immediately. And well, the stuff's already been leaked, so I guess there is no coming back, right? But like, you take something like that, and then you take something like Sony shutting down um, a studio after they basically force fed the industry a game that consumers showed them they didn't want, right? A lot of these companies screw up. And getting back to Ubisoft, I don't want to linger off too much because I'll lose my train of thought, but Ubisoft really should take the John Carmack approach to Xdefiant because, as I stated before, Call of Duty needs competition. Even if that competition isn't something that is necessarily active, what Ubisoft, so it sounds like Ubisoft is going back to Far Cry, which is, I believe a couple of videos ago, if I even published that one, I said is what they need to do. But the worry I have with them is that now they're just focused on throwing, stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. Is Far Cry going to be the next victim? And then after that it's going to be Ghost Recon. Then after that it's going to be like, what do you? What they should not be worried about doing is copycatting. If I were Ubisoft, and I'm not obviously, but if I were Ubisoft, I would go to John Carmack route. And what does that mean? John Carmack has a philosophy that I believe he's been quoted on when it comes to sunsetting games. When it comes to sunsetting the development or active development for a game, John Carmack believes that you should give the game to the community, which is why you see so many different modifications of Doom. When John Carmack and his team decided they weren't making Doom 1 or 2 anymore, they just let it go to the community. They put out the SDKs or whatever and everything, and people were allowed to just continue to make stuff for it. And it has lived on forever. Even when Doom was not the heralded, the once again heralded series that it is now, with the room to room, moment to moment action of the new Doom series starting in 2016 and continue with Eternal, and next year with Dark Ages. Doom was still very much a popular franchise due to mods like Brutal Doom and the GZ Doom engine. And Brutal Doom actually ended up inspiring a lot of what happened, especially with the brutal kills in the new Doom series. Well, I say all that to say this. I think that Ubisoft should not necessarily shut down servers for Xdefiant. I think they should give that game to their community and release the SDKs and let that community have fun with that game. I think that's what they should do. If the community is going to whine and complain so much about what Call of Duty is, because me personally, I'm getting sick of it. Like, Call of Duty is what it is. The skill-based matchmaking and all the other stuff that goes on in there, they're doing it because it works. And a lot of those guys just don't get it, right? They don't get it. They complain every year about that stuff. I'm tired of seeing Activision is trash videos and stuff like that. Activision is Activision. Like, you're preaching to the choir when you say stuff like that. We already know that. Activision is going to Activision, right? Microsoft's really not touching how they work at all. They basically just bought them in order for them to run themselves. So complaining about what they are is not going to change a damn thing, especially when they're making so much money being that. So Ubisoft was smart. What they would do is put Xdefiant out there and leave it out there as a game you don't have to service anymore. And you give it to the community and say, okay, here, you guys can have it. Do whatever you want with it. And I honestly, I think a lot of games would have benefited from that. I just watched recently an episode of Secret Level on Amazon, and I saw the Concord uh, episode, and it's like that team really was trying to build something special, and it was cut down in a matter of like 12 days. And mind you, I understand how councils work. That probably wouldn't have been a good idea, even though honestly, probably wouldn't have been a bad idea either. But I think a lot of those live service games that fail, instead of just saying, well, we spent all that money and it's dead, make it so that people can play those games, you know, on their own private servers. Like these companies would be smart to say, here's a server, a rental service for servers. If you pay us a fee, you can run these dead games on them. Now, I think the only thing that a major corporate suit would tell me is the negative is that is, well, how much does that hurt the new products we put out? Which is, if you think it from a business standpoint, that absolutely makes sense. Why would you want people to have access to something that you want them to move on from? You can't get them to move on from something if you make access to whatever that something is very easy. And that's the kickback you would get, and that's the logical kickback you would get from a business person that would say, no, that wouldn't work. But still, as a consumer, not as a business person, because I have to think both ways, right? So I'm going to be analytical about this stuff. As a consumer, I think it would be very cool if the Xdefiant guys and gals got that game forever and they got to manage it themselves. SDKs, so on and so forth, yada, yada, yada. Let them have that game. I mean, it hasn't hurt Valve. Then again, Valve doesn't make a lot of stuff to have to worry about people. But even, hell, let's be serious. Even when Valve does make something new, it gets a lot of attention. And people appreciate Valve for that because Valve doesn't say, oh, well, this game's old. We want you to play the new one. Cut that one off. They don't do that. So maybe their philosophy isn't bad. Again, there's a suit at Mega Corporation X, and I ain't saying Xbox, but I'm pretty sure there's one there too. But there's a suit at Major Corporation X that would totally argue me down from saying that from a business standpoint. But from a consumer standpoint, and really, if you, the best representation that being Valve, why would that be such a bad thing to let your consumers continue to have access to a game that you no longer have any interest in making or making money off of? Yeah, just let them have access to it. Like even Activision, if now that I think about it, they don't cut off the servers for their old Call of Duty games. You can still play them. Why is that? You can still play them. You can still buy microtransactions from them. I can cut on Modern Warfare 3 right now and buy stuff on the marketplace for that game. So why would it be a big deal? I just don't. I think what I played of that game in this gameplay that you're seeing right now. Again, hopefully, if I can cut it in here, I enjoyed for the most part. Some of the glaring problems with the game are super prevalent. People quitting out because they're not having fun. People quitting out because they're on an unbalanced team. People quitting out because they don't feel like playing against guys who jump around corners and get headshots. Like the same thing that the Call of Duty guys who swear up and down they hate Call of Duty, even though they keep talking about it every year. The same stuff they say they don't like dealing with, because they want to make their, 3 nukes in 3 games videos, and the skill-based matchmaking makes that difficult for them to do. They're doing it to people, and then they wonder why this game is dead, a few months after it came out. It's like, because skill-based matchmaking or not, the average person, and I've said this before, is running into fucking jerks who don't do nothing but sit on the game all day. And it's like at the end of the day, yeah, there's always gonna be people that's better than you at the game. You can't do anything about that, right? There's people who are they have better skill, they have better aim, they have better reflexes, they have more time to play. You're not going to be on everybody's level. Hell, you're not going to be on a lot of people's level because they're cheating or because they're legitimately better than you. But Call of Duty has that algorithm that allows, at least to some extent, for everybody to have a good time. And this game didn't, and that's why it's dead now. But I don't think it should die in the sense that it should cease to exist. I think that it should continue to exist in some shape, form, or fashion. I just don't know how that looks. And then the other thing I want to touch on in this video is the quote unquote continued controversy when it comes to Microsoft and their everything is an Xbox strategy, which seemed to make everybody lose their fucking minds. I had a revelation about something. I a little bit TMI, but whatever for the sake of the conversation, it makes sense. I have a Samsung TV that was made, I guess, in 2024. Yeah, it's a newer Samsung TV. Smart TV, obviously. You can download apps and stuff on it, and this thing's got I think I've spoken about it before. This thing has Xbox, Luna, which is Amazon's game streaming service. Let's see, NVIDIA GeForce, Ant Stream Arcade, Boosteroid, Utomic. I guess that's some kind of streaming service. It's got a bunch of streaming services on it, and I know there's Xbox and Sony fanboys who are like either laughing at the fact that Microsoft is putting their stuff everywhere or upset that Microsoft is putting their stuff everywhere. And this is one of those situations where you have to put on your business hat if you're going to get on the internet and bitch and whine and complain about what the $1 trillion company is doing. You have to put on your business hat and think before you talk, because if you don't, you just come out sound like an ass. This is a brilliant move. So I'm sitting here looking at this TV and I'm thinking to myself, I could literally watch something like Fallout on Amazon Prime, and without having any of these consoles sitting under my TV right now, because right now I have a Series X, PS5, the original PS5, and believe it or not, an Evercade Versus console sitting under this TV. I could literally watch Fallout on Amazon Prime, and without having any of these boxes under this TV, go to the Xbox app and then start playing Fallout 4. I don't think and I know a lot of you might be looking like, so fucking what? You really don't understand how big that is. There was a rumor earlier this year, I think, that Microsoft, it might have been late last year in 2023, but there was a rumor that Microsoft was attempting, while Sony was also attempting, to buy Paramount. And I'm thinking to myself, and also this idea really came to me while I was scrolling through Netflix on this TV, because Netflix is, many of you may know, Netflix has gaming apps on their phone version of their app, but also on the TV version of Netflix on newer TVs, you can play some games with your phone as the controller. They got Oxenfree and Centipede Recharge and Infernax, believe it or not. Two-player co-op Infernax is one of the games you could play on your TV through the Netflix app. And I'm looking at that and I'm like, and they have some games based on their TV shows too. And I'm like, damn, that is actually crazy. What if Microsoft had bought Paramount? And, they already own Activision. And so they got the team that makes Candy Crush and the Crash Bandicoot Runner games and stuff like that. and like the Fallout Shelter game, and I think there's a Elder Scrolls Citadel, which is like basically Fallout Shelter but with Elder Scrolls. Instead of bunkers, you got castles. What if Microsoft had bought Paramount, and on a Paramount Plus app, and this is just all theoretically speaking, after you watch like Top Gun 1 and 2, they say, would you like to stream uh, Flight Simulator with the Top Gun DLC? Do you fucking understand how crazy it is? The fact that, like I said, I gave you an early example. The fact that I said I can watch Amazon Prime and watch the entire first season of Fallout, and then without having a console under my TV, go to the Xbox app and boot up the Fallout games, at least the last 2 or 3, I think, without having a console. All I need is a controller and a remote for my TV. The fact that I can do that right now, what these companies are trying to do is blend entertainment on a scale and scope that we have never imagined before. And I think that's the penultimate goal, right? This is why Netflix, uh, well, the game is canceled now, but this is why Netflix had a AAA studio. And I believe, honestly, the only reason that game got canceled is the cost versus the perceived uh, profit, and the fact that that AAA game may have been based on Rebel Moon, which is not a popular IP for Netflix. As a matter of fact, at this point, I'm pretty sure both Netflix and Zack Snyder would rather forget that that thing even exists, because nothing about it was good. It's fucking horrible. Like, we already had Rogue One from Star Wars. What the fuck do we need that for? Anyway, not to go off on that. That shit sucks. But I say all that to say this. I told you guys before that I believe 2 purchase targets for Microsoft in the next year are going to be Unity and TikTok. And I still believe, to an extent, both of those are true, but I'm also going to go out on a limb and say that they have a third target. And that might be, hell, I don't know. I think it's going to be some kind of TV studio, though. Some kind of TV studio or app, or it's going to be some kind of a merger or agreement with like a Netflix. Netflix might have actually killed off their their first party AAA studio for the fact that a deal like that is incoming. Because I'm telling you now, the idea that you can literally, another perfect example, you can go to Disney Plus right now, watch all 5 Indiana Jones movies, or 3 if you're a hardcore fan, because the other 2 don't exist, even though 5's not that bad. Regardless, I digress. You can watch the Young Indiana Jones TV show, and then you can go to the Xbox app again and play the new Indiana Jones games, which is like the best Indiana Jones simulator I've seen in my lifetime. Like, that's fucking brilliant. You can literally, like, imagine Microsoft getting their hands on a production studio that makes like movies, and that new studio from that RPG that I told you guys, again, that RPG that's like Destiny, that I told you guys Microsoft really bought Activision. Everybody's talking about, oh, well, Activision was going to cut them out and not make Call of Duty on there anymore and all this other bullshit. Yeah. Okay, whatever. That's the front facing lie they tell the normies, right? I'm telling you that Elseworlds games, or whatever that shit is, that they started in the in the same country where CD Projekt Red is manufacturing games out of. That game is the game Microsoft bought Activision for. If you go back and look at the description of the game, it's called Elseworlds Games, or the Elseworlds, or something like that. That's the name of the studio, not the game. They are a multimedia company. They're working on comic books, TV shows, movies, and obviously a game. Several games, actually, based on this universe. I'm telling you guys now, if they were able to make a Call of Duty TV show, and then you could just go on the app on your TV and play Call of Duty after you finish watching the TV show, that is a level of synchrony and emergence. That emergent is emergence the right word? Fuck. Immersion. Excuse me. That you likely haven't experienced before. And you can already do it now. You can watch Fallout now and then just cut on the Xbox app without having any console or PC hooked up to your TV and play Fallout. You can watch Indiana Jones right now and then without having any console or PC hooked up to your TV, play an Indiana Jones game that is actually pretty damn good right now. That's where this is going. That's what they want. They want you to jump from one piece of media to another immediately. I don't think you guys are ready. You really ain't. Like, that's what's coming. That's the new thing. And I'm telling you now, be ready, because they're going to make another big purchase either in 2025 or 2026. They're going to make another big purchase, and it's going to be the one that starts moving towards them defining that. And trust me, it ain't just them. Sony wants that too, which is why they did the Katakawa deal. Sony didn't buy Katakawa just to control Elden Ring, and they didn't buy Katakawa, by the way. They only got 10%. They have like a bigger stake in the company, but they want to. Sony, just as much as Microsoft is already doing it, Sony wants you to be able to watch The Last of Us on the HBO app and then play The Last of Us anywhere you are, even if you don't have a PlayStation. They want that too, because they realize that makes them more money. If you can pay them to run an app to play The Last of Us after you watch The Last of Us on HBO Max, gold. Absolute gold. That's how products are pushed. The show is the advertisement for the product. This is the future. This is what they're going to do. Mark my words, it's coming. At any rate, guys, I've talked your heads off for about 30 minutes there. I think I'm going to leave you with your thoughts on that. Let me know what you think, man. I could be wrong, but I don't think I am. Because, again, it's Fallout, Indiana Jones. It's already happening. So, hell, The Witcher. I think you can stream The Witcher on this damn TV, actually. Yeah, it's already happening. It's already happening, guys. So, yeah, be on the lookout for that, man. And like I said, if you agree, if you disagree, let me know in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next convo.